Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you are doing great, and I hope you don't have any kid left in the back of your car. And I hope you don't have any relatives who tend to leave the kids in the back of their car. If yes, just make sure they are okay. And as you may have realized, we postponed a few of our interviews. We were really looking forward to release them. And they will come this week. But we needed to step back for 2 days and think a little bit more about the events. First of all, a person died, okay? And 2 others were injured. And that should be on the front page, because why would anyone be better or more valuable than the other one? So when somebody, a former fire chief who protected his family with his body, Corey Comperatore, just died, was massacred, murdered by the incompetent DEI, or shortly written DIE, services, and all the alphabet agencies in the world's most surveilled country where nothing happens without somebody's permission. Somebody was just murdered once again. 2 others, David Dutch, who was also injured, the US Marine veteran with liver damage, broken ribs. And 1 other, a Democrat, who was just keen on to be interested in to see what all this fuss is about. James Copenhaver, 74 years old, visited the place. Because just like Corey Comperatore, people can still talk to each other like he talked to his neighbor, and he was described as a cool guy. Despite the differences, how we see the world, we can be great for each other and to each other. And of course, we have now an anointed, the God-anointed person who went through a tremendous character development in the last decade. Very astounding and really unforgettable anointment. And let's be fair, he just grew up as a person. Of course, we never knew. Who would know? Maybe his families, who Donald Trump is. How? We could know. We know the portrayal. We know what the media and others are telling us about him. We know that it depends on how much we zoom the camera to somebody's life. We see a different picture. And yes, we can see people who are not thinking like the herd, who are not talking like the brutes and the politicians who ruin the world as we know it, who are not shells, who are not selling out the country, who might have more dignity and spine than the whole globalist movement combined together. And just for a second, think of this. This is not about hatred. It's about truth and the future of humanity and the free world. Globalists are rebranded communists with traits of fascists. Just think of it a little bit. And you can disagree with me. And I'm glad if we have a conversation. I'm glad if we have a very fortunate debate. However, facts also matter. Communists are not the friends of the humans. Fascists were never friends of the humans. And globalists, who are the rebranded communists with some fascistoid traits, are really from hell. This ideology is not from God. It does not contain even a peck of dust coming from heaven. And I would never say that Republicans are the best. I would never say that. But if we have to compare which is the less bad, it's already a win if we know which direction is a better one. And we can say many things, but this attempted assassination got a godly intervention Still, way too many do not understand that Donald Trump is not a human anymore. Of course he is for his families and friends. But he is an idea. He is an idea, most probably the most patriotic idea we have heard since Reagan or maybe even Lincoln. And also he has something what the shells, the military industrial complex, do not possess, and that is common sense. Does he have a very interesting style, let's just say that way? Yes. He sounds more like a TV personality. Well, let's be fair, he's less and less like that. He's more and more growing into something what I don't think any of us could have foreseen he would grow into. He took up the mantle from God, even if he is a flawed person, just like all of us. And as Jesus said, and I know these days saying the name of Jesus is not a good thing, throw the stone if you are innocent and you know that you are not. And instead of looking inwards and saying, all right, why do I have this negative energy towards somebody whom I never met, never listened to, just let myself to be overwhelmed by the media clips and all the social media algorithm negative trends. It is all about us, that we don't look inwards and we have self-hatred. We envy others. We don't see the real potential in others because we are in so much debt for God that we don't even find a way anymore back to Him. Instead, we are just accusing others, putting our inward emptiness, shallowness, the void into anger, and try to refocus the spotlight from our inner needs to others' successes to take them down. Maybe it is not true for many of you. I know that in my life, unfortunately, time to time I did this. You know who does this? Communists. And I ain't no one. Not even a single peck of dust of communist demonic thing is in me. So when we look at this cadaver who is a puppet, we all know it. Even Obama was a puppet, very well spoken. Oh my God, he was really a well spoken person. I loved when he was speaking. He was entertaining. Oh my God, who is the other person who was entertaining and well spoken? Donald Trump. Isn't it interesting that one thing that could work for one type of people, it wouldn't work, it cannot work, it is impossible even to think of that it could work for the other type of people. Look, I don't know him. He's an elderly person in this world. He is a grandfather. But he has more energy, and I'm sure the spirit world, the good spirit world, is really giving him a lot of protection and energy to do what most of us, most of the times, feel incapable of. And that is looking at the greater picture. When we talk about the American elections, it is not the American election. Never been. At least not since from the Second World War. That is a one-world government. And that's the American government. And it is not comfortable. It is not good to hear. But here's the problem. America, this social experiment that the people can have a chance to control their elected leaders. So no kings, no feudalism anymore. No treacherous, spineless, demonic entities ruling over the people anymore. We had enough in the history. It is a symbol for hope, for freedom, and for the humanity. It is not accidental that in such a short time America could rise from nothing to be the #1 leader in the world. Never ever in the non-human history any other empire could do that. The problem is that it is not just the good guys. The communists, the globalists are also there. They want to take it down. They created America into an empire. And as I said, it is not about Trump. It is not about the American election. It is about the rest of the world. This planet could fall into the hands of the evil for good. The red wave was stopped only in the first part of the 70s and took almost 2 more decades to eradicate most of it. It's not coming back. And that is not from God, but from the red guy who lacks love. And remember, only the unloved people hate, as Chaplin said. And if you can't love yourself, even if you live in solitude, that means you are capable for the worst, what God did not design for humans. Well, in matured, grown-up humans, these traits are not there. But are we there yet? No. So, when we look at Trump, he is a must-be Herculean hero now. And if we say, and if we naysay the things towards him, that we admit that we are hating ourselves. Every day, every minute, every second, every breath. If we can have a better president than the self-pooping cadaver and his handlers, then it's a great thing. And it's not about pooping. We all poop ourselves, even as adults. It happens. Depends on what we ate, depends on what sickness we have, and yes, sometimes it depends on our medicine or our age. The problem is if it is without admission. Okay? And when we have an elderly abuse, once again in the White House, it did happen with Woodrow Wilson. Look it up, Gen Z, if you don't know what I'm talking about. I know you won't. But still, there are still books, there are still libraries, you can still do your own research, and research doesn't mean that you ask for ChatGPT. That's not research. That's avoiding responsibility, once again, in another aspect. We need somebody who represents God in this world. Who will do that? Religion is dead. And maybe that's a good thing, because we don't need religion for faith. That was a temporary thing for people from a very, very low bottom thing to get upper, higher, greater. But what replaced religion? Politics and money. Can we really look at this way that, hey, we need God, we need some absolutely positive, because we are self-destructing right now? And there will be no war if we are self-destructing. Just death. Who is representing God? The good guys? Biden? Obama? Or the guys from BlackRock? Or the Chinese Winnie the Pooh? who will put me into the prison camp immediately when he sees me because I dare to say Vrindapu? Or Putin? Who? Or Justin Trudeau? Is he from God? Or Macron and his interesting love relationship life? Who? Who has the power to represent God's will in this hour? Don't you think for a moment that in the era of Solomon, the king, from the Old Testament, or David, these are not turmoils. These were not smooth times full of wars, but somebody in the world needed to represent something higher, greater. And look at this person and compare this person to his TV persona. What you know, what you feel. I would shit my own pants faster than Biden if somebody shoots my head and only piercing my ears. I think I am a brave person. I think I'm a courageous person. But I don't think in that very moment I would have been able to stand up like High Spirit stands me up and saying that, hey, fight. Fight for what? Fight for a better world. Fight for a greater world. Fight for a world with God inside, where your children are free of all these negative traits, when your children can once again, as we used to be able to, ride a bicycle without supervision, when the playgrounds are safe, when the schools are safe, when you don't have to worry that somebody will steal your child's mind and feed it with absolutely immoral, spineless, demonic ideas. That's what we need. We need people like Trump who accepts a certain anointment. You can't anoint somebody. I can't. Nobody can. Not even a high priest. God can choose. And you know, this is also interesting. I've been saying all weekend long, Saul, or the other name was Paul. Now, are you putting this together? He was so much against what God wanted. And somehow, he was responsible to spread Christianity for the rest of the world. So, what are we talking about? Even if you can't stand the character, because we don't know the person, the character of Donald Trump, all right. But you have to admit, if you look really deep inside of you, that God is not without him these times, and he is not without God these times. Are we able to have that kind of character development he went through in the last decade? Are we able to distinguish our own need from what people need? Why would he do that? He has no reason. He is richer than most of us. He has all the company he wants. He loves playing golf. And he can. He has a young kid, an old kid, grandchildren, a beautiful wife. He has everyone around. He has everything around. And you know what? I love somebody who says, I don't need money for this job. And you know what? He was like that. And I think when we look at the events, how these JFK-style events cleanup has been happening, in the most surveilled country on this whole planet, where only things that are allowed can happen. Although the public perception is, oh, this is the freest country on earth. Really? You know it, right? And it is okay to question the narrative. But then, questioning Sandy Hook should also be okay. Because if you really go there and you check that, hey, why there was no electricity there in that building for months before that? How is it possible? Or when you look at certain buildings who burned like no fire master would say that, oh, that's impossible from that. That should be also okay to question. Just like it should be okay to question the military-industrial complex. The double-tapping Obama missiles murdering 90% innocents. The non-existent warheads in Iraqi. Or who is responsible now for the greatest drug improvement in the 21st century after leaving Afghanistan? Guess what? It's not Donald Trump. So I don't want to sound angry. I am not afraid. But I would be afraid if people didn't think more. I would be afraid. I would be scared if people went and continued with their herd mentality, with their lynching ideas. If you are an outlier, then you are bad. It should be okay to say no. It should be okay to see things differently. I don't agree with Bill Maher, for example, but I accept what he's saying, and I might even learn something from him. But then it should be okay the other way around too, right? Because if not, then you are not facing with your neighbors, your teachers, or politicians, or puppets on the TV, or wherever, but then you are facing with communists, with fascist traits, and those are the globalists. Like it or not, they are not from God, they are not of God, they are not with God. And I know, if you are listening this, you are a decent person. And I wish you good health. I wish you time with God. And I wish you peace.